Thank you, Sean. How's everybody doing?
Great.
Great, fine, well, thank you, cool, very awesome. I should mention, if you know anyone that wants to read in the future in this series, please get in touch with me or go to swag.org and you can email through that or send a form through them. We're always looking to find new readers to participate in these events. Those who are in the Puget Sound or those who are from away. We welcome guests, and that's kind of what this whole Seattle Poetics Lab Presents thing was based on. Now the sensitivity's up, I feel like it's much more receptive to my tones. But we're also interested in the words of everyone else from around the country and potentially beyond. So send them my way. We have one last reader for this evening, and then I did want to make a note that it's still light out. It's one of those eerie feelings in Seattle. It happens every year to me when I'm here, where it's still light out at a certain time, and you're listening to the spoken word, and the sun is still shining. What's wrong with you? Or right with you? Our final reader for this evening is Daniel Wolff, who has published numerous well-received nonfiction books, including a national bestseller that won the Ralph J. Gleason Award for the Best Music Book in 1985. He was nominated for a Grammy in 2003 and was named Literary Artist of 2013 for Rockland County, New York. He has also collaborated on documentary films with Jonathan Demme, from Silence of the Lambs, as well as pop songs and performance pieces. His latest book, which he's currently touring for, is this beautiful tome here, The Names of Birds, and there are copies for sale on the back. And that's available by Four Way Books. It's a great read. I read it all entirely before D. Wolff came out here, and you should definitely check it out. So everybody, welcome up, D. Wolff.
It's all going to be short. Do we need it?
I don't know.
Do I talk like this? Can you hear me in the back?
Yes.
Okay, well, we're good. Oh, okay. Yeah, there you go. Combination. Thank you very much for organizing this and having me.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Very kind of you. I read tomorrow night at Hugo House, which I saw had a little crafty sign that said a writer's place over the front door, which made me wonder what this is then. Is this like for everybody else? You know, they should have a sign, everybody else's place.
This is a writer's place.
There you go.
It's a writer's place.
There you go. What isn't a writer's place? So I've been touring. I've been this time to Texas and 3 readings down in San Francisco and Portland last night. I do Hugo House tomorrow. I go to Boston and then New York. I live in New York. Very nice to be out here. So what I've been doing 2 things with these readings. One is that I've been reading this book sequentially because it has a storyline to it. And also it keeps me sort of sane about where I am. And also it gives me a chance to try to understand what it is I've made. So I'm going to start you guys off. Here we are. It's perfect. It's the first section is fall. We've done that. The second section is winter. We've done that. We're in spring. The Names of Birds is about birds and about their names. And is trying to, the sort of premise it sets up is how do you look at nature and or anything else and tell the truth about it and not put your meaning on top of it. So that the first poem begins, dusk does not descend, let's get that much straight. So the sort of stuff that we want to say, night doesn't fall, you're not as joyful as a lark. I mean, those things have all happen, and the narrator, the voice of this poem is going, I'm not going to deal with that bullshit. Somehow I'm going to see this clearly without all that put in. Now this is, as you can guess, a kind of hopeless task. Right? It's the task of the book. So the fall section was trying to get this together, and then the winter section got pretty dour as you saw things with none of these meanings and just in winter time. And we're now in the spring section. So let me read one that's called Mute Swan. I'm fine without this, right?
Yeah, you're good.
Cool, because that makes me feel like I'm on NBC News or something. But I'm not fine with it for life. Here we go. There you go. Mute Swan. The mute swans in the millpond communicate. They face each other, and by beating the air, pedal the muddy water and raise their white chests up. What they might be telling each other, I have no idea, or only ideas. Later, the moon, bone yellow, sits atop the sky, a rock. The swans are sound asleep. They drift like white shadows on the sea. Shadows of what? They made clouds when they talked. So I told you I was doing two things on this tour. One was reading them through sequentially. The other thing I'm doing is reading them all twice. And the reason I do that is because I don't know about you guys, but when I'm sitting there and listening to someone read, I kind of get it. But I also think, you know, that guy's wearing a blue jacket and it's hard for him to see the book. And by then, 3 lines have gone by and I've kind of lost it. And plus for me, my poems tend to have real endings and punchlines, sort of. And I always forget what the beginning of the joke is by the time I got to the punchline, so it really helps to do it again. I'm happy if you have questions about them. I will try to answer them. I can't always, but I'm happy to. So this is the beginning of the idea that in spring, when we've gotten out of that dourness, things are actually, wonders, other things are communicating out there. And I can pay attention to that, and they're saying something beyond what us humans are saying that we keep trying to, again, put meaning on or figure meaning out. Mute Swan. And I like that they're mute, of course. You guys have these all over, right, out here? Or do you have different swans? Do you have whistling swans or something? You don't know?
We ain't got swans.
You ain't got no swans?
An occasional swan. I don't listen to them myself.
Oh, they got mute swan's a big white bird, right? There you go. You can tell I'm a bird. Okay.
Swan songs.
Right there. We're getting closer. But these are mute swans. There's no swans on here. But that's kind of what the poem's about, ain't it? The mute swans in the millpond communicate. They face each other, and by beating the air, pedal the muddy water, and raise their white chests up. What they might be telling each other, I have no idea, or only ideas. Later, the moon, bone yellow, sits atop the sky, a rock. The swans are sound asleep. They drift like white shadows on the sea. Shadows of what? They made clouds when they talked. So the next one is called Vernal Equinox. I really mean it if you have questions or want to just bug me.
Yeah.
Interrupt. Yes, sir.
Yeah. White chest.
White chest?
Is this also reference to us humans?
No, this is a reference to them swans.
Okay.
They have, if you ever see them, they kind of sit on the water like this with a big chest in front, but it's also a presentation of some sort, like us humans, that we make to each other, right?
So, in other words, I was right.
The audience is always right. You should know that. And if I disagree with you, it's just because I'm wrong. Okay. Vernal Equinox. With a sigh of kept air, the waterlogged, winter-long dinghy turns over. The oriole's nest has dropped off the willow. I've got a prop by my window. The ice that secured the pond and had been secured by snow has turned a crocus blue. This kind of change between two bodies produces a thick, swirling mist. It's a sign they've started to forget each other. Vernal Equinox. Part of the problem with trying to, in this book, with trying to see things and understand them is that the landscape keeps changing, the seasons keep changing. So when you think, you go, that's a cardinal, but wait, it's a cardinal in a tree that now is losing its leaves and it's moving and that sort of business. So that's part of what the book keeps trying to deal with. So vernal equinox is as we're turning out of all this frozenness, obviously, in spring. With a sigh of kept air, the waterlogged, winter-long dinghy turns over. The oriole's nest has dropped off the willow. I got a prop by my window. The ice that secured the pond and had been secured by snow has turned to crocus blue. This kind of change between two bodies produces a thick, swirling mist. It's a sign they've started to forget each other. Got a question? You good?
Me?
Yeah. Yeah, you. Good.
Are you good?
I'm good.
That's okay.
You're right. I'm good. Greater Scout. Scout is a diving duck. I think you do have those guys over here, yeah? Okay. Because this was East Coast observations, so I want to check. But I don't think, I've been through the book so far, I don't think there's anything, your blue jays are different.
Yeah.
But we're not going to get to them today. So you don't have to worry.
Oh, that's good.
You can worry. You can buy the book and worry. Greater Scout. North Wind Road roughshod over swamp maple, scattering buds, first blossoms to the ground turned red. Murder, or maybe sandpaper. And this, it's fragrant dust. The surface of the pond is knotted, a grain of water constantly changing. Everything swirls except for a duck, which is somehow staying in place. In the deconstruction that blows from the south, this is a fact. Green head. I'll do it again quick. Greater Scout. So you're kind of getting that, that indecision of what's real and what isn't and how you identify it. Here, God damn it, this is a fact. There's something green in the middle of all this, while all the rest of it is changing, falling apart, or growing up. North Wind Road roughshod over swamp maple, scattering buds and first blossoms to the ground turned red. Murder, or maybe sandpaper. And this is fragrant dust. The surface of the pond is knotted, the grain of water constantly changing. Everything swirls except for a duck, which is somehow staying in place in the deconstruction that blows from the south. This is a fact. Green head. I read, when was it? 3 weeks ago in New York City, at a place called the City Winery. Part of me reading it twice and talking in between is I think poetry readings are very hard to deal with, and it's nice when there's other stuff going on. So for this, I had a friend of mine called Bill Irwin, I don't know if you guys know him, as a clown, interpret some of my poems, since it was a variety show. So he came out in baggy pants and a bowler hat and said, poetry is interesting, but sort of primitive, really, compared to vaudeville. And said, I admire Daniel's poems. Some of them almost approach a good joke. And then read one that, is kind of jokey, but, he has a real point. Jokes are incredibly well put together if they work, right? I sometimes think poets don't work that hard. But the other act, one of the other acts, was Southside Johnny, who you may or may not know, who's a kind of R&B singer from New Jersey. And I wanted him to read this next poem because he has a kind of lyrical, beautiful voice, but also songs that are related to this. And this always struck me as a pop song. This poem, although it doesn't rhyme and wouldn't work. And he said, no, thank you very much. I'm not going to read any poetry, but what would that do to my reputation? Herring gull. At the very top story of night, a white gull wails, wheeling. How would I know if it were telling the truth? I'm not. Above the crust of light at the rim of the sky, a few stars survive the glow of Earth. It's a common thing, a scavenger. It cries at the edge of what works. So you can see, here's a blues singer. I thought, come on, Johnny, you can do this one. He wouldn't have anything to do with it. Let me do that again. Herring gull. And then I'll do, I think, one more, right? Yeah.
Right.
Right. You're right. The audience wants me to stop. I stop. Right. Good. Herring gull. At the very top story of night, a white gull wails, wheeling. How would I know if it were telling the truth? I'm not. Above the crust of light at the rim of the sky, a few stars survive the glow of Earth. It's a common thing, a scavenger. Cries at the edge of what works. And so for a last one, and thank you very much again for having me. It's nice to come out here. Love to talk to you afterwards if you want to come by the writer's place tomorrow night. I'd love to see you there. This is called looking down from the ground level. An 80-foot white pine, having toppled over in the black night, lies flat now, and I can stand where clouds once called. This horizontal will soon be normal. Branches will brown and blend with the earth, but for now it's new, fresh with air that only crows have crossed. From here, I should be able to see me, tiny, peering up, and can't, of course. Why pretend? It's not new, it's fall. I'll do that one more time. Looking down from ground level. You get the picture, right? You got the picture? Clear? Good. Looking down from ground level. An 80-foot white pine, having toppled over in the black night, lies flat now. And I can stand where clouds once caught. This horizontal will soon be normal. Branches will brown and blend with the earth, but for now it's new, fresh with air that only crows have crossed. From here, I should be able to see me, tiny, peering up. You can, of course. Why pretend? It's not new. It's fall.